episode 346, when the old way still works.
We have a kind of a belief system that either we're going to push you up or we're going to push you out. I don't want to be around 5 other people that aren't pushing themselves to succeed. Success isn't about taking, but giving value first. Compensation follows contribution always. This is true authenticity. It's the truth. Every week, this is our story. We share with you our journey. We share with you our scars.
Please welcome your host, Ty Cobb-Backer.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Behind the Tool Belt, the podcast where we talk about leadership, business, personal development, and the lessons learned from those of us who build things every single freaking day. Man, I love the way the studio is coming. It's really starting to evolve. It's only taken us 3 years to start to get our heads wrapped around what it is that we wanted to do, and we've had the studio's been set up, but not the way that it is right now. We've bought some equipment when we were traveling, and I believe Victor is making his way over to storage and pulling some of the cool gadgets and toys and devices and technology and putting it all to good use. So if you see my eyes wandering every single where, it's because I got 4 monitors. I feel like I'm at the helm of a ship right now. And literally, I got my YBA minutes over here. I can actually see what the comments are. Not that I couldn't see them before, but we had a monitor back against the wall that, I would try to see what everybody was saying. And it seems like the more episodes I do, the worse my eyes get. So anyhow, I'm super pumped about today's show, and I'm super pumped about what is to come with TC Backer, and I'm super pumped about what is to become of Behind the Tool Belt. And Vic and I and Baker, this goes back a long ways. We actually started to create what was called the Smash Lab, where we wanted to just break stuff. We wanted to do product reviews. We wanted to do, how to and product knowledge and test tools out and just do all kinds of cool stuff. And we kind of shelved that for a minute. But where we're at right now in this season, I believe, as we're halfway through August and then try to keep things moving forward for us, mentally and physically, and to keep things, interesting for you guys and our viewers, whether you're a homeowner, whether you're a business owner, whether you're a parent or a manager of a company. We try to keep our content relevant. We try to keep it with true authenticity and only share our experience, strength, and hope with you guys. And we want to bring back the Smash Lab, but take it to a whole different level. We want to do, we want to take it on the road. We want to talk about, break out like what is, shingle manufacturer's warranty, what is a workmanship warranty. Yeah, do some product, material reviews, do some tool reviews, anything. We'll talk about safety. We'll go maybe interview the guy that wraps our vehicles. And because I know so many people see our trucks on the road and stuff like that, would probably really like to see how it's done and who we use, and give them a plug over there at Impressive Signs, because they do an amazing job on a lot of our things. They did the signs on our building. They did, the vehicle wraps. They've done, and we've gotten a lot. We have a lot of great partners that have helped us succeed over the years, and it'll just get us out of the daily routine of everything that we do, of just kind of showing up in the studio and trying to come up with content and keep it real and not get off track too much. But I'm looking forward to it won't be broadcasted live. I shouldn't say that, but it won't be technically like a weekly scheduled thing. It will be when Vic and I can carve out some time to record some stuff, which I know we already have a lot of stuff in the archives that he'll probably start rolling out in the next few weeks. So you guys can kind of get a taste of the Smash Lab presented to you by Behind the Tool Belt. So anyhow, Now, on with our regularly scheduled show. If you don't know, I'm Ty Backer, and as always, I appreciate you spending part of your day with me, whether you're driving to a job site, hanging out in your office, eating lunch, whatever, wherever you're at. Thank you for tuning in, and I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the feedback that you give us, and I hope today's conversation challenges the way that you think about things. And today's topic is one that I think every business owner, leader, and professional wrestles with, and it's called when the old way still works. And I think we all know the phrase, we've always done it that way. And sometimes that's wisdom. Sometimes it's an excuse. And the difficult part, I think, is knowing the difference. It almost sounds like a prayer, doesn't it? Grant me the serenity to know the difference, the wisdom to know the difference. Yeah. Anyhow, so today I'm going to do my best to try to unpack that, because not everything old should be replaced, and not everything new deserves to be adopted. So, and this is the thing. Have you noticed that I think in our culture today that we almost worship new technology, new marketing, new software, new leadership books, new trends, new this, new that. And sometimes I think we become convinced that if something has been around for years, it almost somehow becomes outdated. But here's something that I've learned after years of doing this and killing myself. Age doesn't determine value. I believe results do. There are principles that have existed for years that still outperform the newest business strategies. Okay. Like integrity, like hard work, keeping your word, serving people, building relationships. Those things never go out of style, ever. Yet we often chase shiny objects because change feels exciting. At least for me, it does. And sometimes we can change simply because someone else is. But here's the question, okay? The question I want you to think about today: if something still produces exceptional results, why would we abandon it? Okay. Not every process needs reinvented. Not every system needs upgraded. Not every tradition needs replaced. Good leaders don't change because it's fashionable. They change because there's a compelling reason to change. Okay. Now, let's look at the other side of this. Okay. For a minute. Take a sip here. Okay. Let's look at the other side of this for a second. Experience is one of the greatest gifts a person can possess. Okay. Experience allows us to recognize patterns. We talk about them all the time around here. Okay. We've seen difficult team members. We've lived through recessions. We've made hiring mistakes. And we've built winning teams, and we've built not so winning teams. And experience allows us to avoid mistakes I think younger leaders haven't encountered yet. That's me kicking the stool over here a little bit. Got a little different setup over here. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm at the helm. I got this. Okay. Rough seas don't make for a good captain. All right. Or smooth seas. Smooth seas don't make for a good captain. Anyhow, but experience has a dangerous friend. Okay. It's called resistance. Okay. I think I said that right. Yeah. resistance. All right. I've given resistance. I've had team members give us resistance. And this, the funny thing is that they both look very familiar from the outside, but literally they're completely different. Okay. Experience says, I've seen this before, but let's evaluate it. Resistance says, I've already made up my mind. Damn it. One is wisdom. The other one, I believe, is pride. One stays curious. The other one stops listening. I've been on both sides of that coin. I've experienced both sides of that coin, and it's not always easy. But I found that the best people never stop learning. The best leaders never stop learning. Okay. They ask questions. They stay humble. They allow younger team members to challenge assumption. Okay. Because the moment we believe we have nothing left to learn, our growth stops. And we've talked about that before. And I've done it. I've become very one-way in conversations. I shut down. I'll stop listening. And when that moment starts to happen, I stop learning. Okay. And I'm not saying be a yes man. I'm not saying stop questioning things. I'm not saying stop giving pushback and things like that. I'm not saying that whatsoever. Hopefully the conversations, the other person that you're having with is open for, I don't want to call it conversational shit. A difficult conversation. Okay, we'll leave it at that, but not necessarily difficult, but having an adult education. Okay. And listen, this is the other side of it. Okay. I want to talk about the danger of success. Okay. This is something that I've got to experience over the years. Right. And it might surprise you a little bit here because failure rarely destroys great companies. Success often does. And think about that. Okay. When something works, we naturally want to protect it, and we should. Okay. But success can quietly convince us that we'll always be successful. And that's what's dangerous about that. Okay. Because I've done it, taken on the world. Success has overran everything. And the thing that I've learned about success, comfortability starts to come in place. Okay. Man, I'm struggling here. Complacency starts to take place. What used to work stops working. Change stops happening. And all of those things. And it becomes very dangerous. Meanwhile, markets are changing. Customers are changing. Technology is changing. Team members are changing. Generations are changing. All of these things are changing. And if we don't continue, we stop. It's almost like we stop evaluating our systems. Okay. And if we don't, we'll get left behind. Like this whole AI thing. Vic and I were talking about AI earlier. And it's like, if we're not evolving, don't think that your competition isn't going to adapt and learn how to use some of this new technology, which makes things a lot quicker. Things start speeding up. It starts alleviating gaps and speeding the process up, and there are companies that have dominated, industries for decades. And then poof, they just disappeared, not because they weren't great. And Jim Collins' book talks about good to great. It's because they stopped adapting. Okay. The challenge isn't protecting the success. The challenge is protecting success while continuing to improve. Okay. The challenge is protecting success while continuing to improve. Okay. I just wanted to make that clear. And I wanted to hear myself say that because I've been in this vicious circle, this vicious cycle. Okay. And I think there are a few questions everyone, should be asking is this process, and the reason why I'm talking about this is because I stopped asking questions. I stopped, questions like, is this still serving our customers? Okay. Is this helping our team? Does it create unnecessary frustration? Are people creating workarounds? Is technology solving problems we continue creating? Are we holding on to this because it's effective or because it's comfortable? Okay. Those are completely different questions. Okay. Are we holding on to this because it's effective, or are we holding on to this because it's comfortable? All right. And this past winter, I had to ask myself that question a lot. Okay. And sometimes the answer that I found is just to leave it alone. Okay. And other times I've realized that we've been protecting comfort instead of greatness. We were holding ourselves back because it was just comfortable. It was familiar. Okay. Meanwhile, things are falling behind. We're not bidding jobs fast enough. We're all of these things. We're not meeting people's needs. We're not exceeding their expectations anymore. Everything just becomes mediocre. And if we allow that to continue to keep happening, guess what? The phone stops ringing. People stop calling us, right? We're not exceeding the expectations or changing the height of the standard. Okay. And this is the other thing. Can change make things worse? Abso-freaking-lutely. I've seen businesses, and we've done it, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars implementing software that actually slowed everybody down. We were creating our own KPI dashboard for months. We worked on this thing and we shelved it. It was like, it's not going to work, and it's not the right time, and it's not the thing to be spending money on right this second. And I've watched companies replace personal customer service with automation, okay, to only lose the relationships that built the business. And I've watched leaders change compensation plans thinking that they were, improving in performance. Instead, they were destroying morale. Change itself isn't progress. Purposeful change creates progress. Strategic. Okay. That's why every decision should answer one question. Okay. What problem are we solving? If you can't clearly answer that, then don't change it. Okay. My mom used to say, if you can't make a decision, sometimes the best one is not to make a decision at all. Okay. And this is something else too, this is something that I had struggled with. Okay. Hey, I've heard it. We've always done it this way. And then having a fresh set of eyes look at something. And one of, I think, my favorites, which used to really super annoy the shit out of me, but has become probably one of my most favorite things to do is hiring new people. Okay. And it's not necessarily because of what they know. It's what they notice. Okay. Someone who's been with our company for 30 days will often ask questions we've stopped asking after 10 years of doing it. Okay. Why do we do this? Sometimes our answer is brilliant. And then sometimes our answer is, I don't know. That in itself is leadership gold. And I'm going to say this because I've gotten defensive. Don't be defensive. Okay? Become curious. Some of our greatest improvements will come from people who haven't yet learned to accept our blind spots. Okay? Fresh perspectives don't replace experience. They only sharpen them. Okay? And over the years, I'd say one of many lessons I've learned personally is that every season of growth, okay, has required me to let go of something that once worked. Okay. There were systems that served us well when we were a small company, but they couldn't support a larger organization. There were decisions I needed to stop making. Actually, over time, there was decisions that I could stop making because our leadership team has grown. Okay. And then there has been like technologies that, along the way that I resisted because I was comfortable with the old way. And one of those would be my day planner. And Jana, I see that you're watching, and she can relate to this, Jana and probably Kim. So I had a day planner that had every job that we had to schedule, to be scheduled, to order, all the everything, roofing, siding, windows, gutters, everything. It was all in my day planner, and nobody had access to it. And this goes back 12 years ago. And I still have those day planners in a filing cabinet over my old office at the shop. And I'll break them out sometime and let everybody see them. We should probably actually have those things on a shelf. So somebody had mentioned, and it was somebody new, and man, it might have been Chris Baker, had suggested Google Calendar. I know it sounds a little dated, because there's so many other CRMs and softwares out there to, you got your Apple Calendar and things like that. But back then it was Google Calendar. And I don't know if it just had came out. I resisted a little bit, but then quickly realized that first and foremost, I needed help. Okay. And we had the help, but I wasn't making things very transparent for everyone else to see. And I was holding up production. I was holding up billing. I was holding up invoicing. I was holding up so many things. I was holding up how quickly things could be ordered. I was just holding up everything. So when I personally adapted to Google Calendar, it opened up a whole world. The team had adapted, and myself adapted so quickly to Google Calendar that it ultimately turned into like our CRM. We shared it with distribution. We shared it with financing. We shared it with production. We shared it with everybody. In real time, they could see the changes being made. And then we color coded everything just like I did, with the same colors that we still use today: green for Gemcraft, yellow for Ryan, blue for Lennar, so on and so forth. Okay. And that's what was cool about it is that it worked kind of the same way as my day planner, but was way more advanced and way more transparent. So I just wanted to share that story. And, and the thing is, like, almost every time when I finally embrace a system, I find myself asking myself this question: why didn't I do this sooner? Okay. That doesn't mean every idea is right. It means every idea deserves an honest evaluation. Okay. Because great leaders can be stubborn. We shouldn't be. What we should be is we should be discerning. Okay. So anyhow, this is a great topic for me personally. I don't know if anybody's getting anything out of there. Who's on there? I see Kimberly. I see Zach. What's up, buddy? David Bruno. I can see the comment. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Okay. So here's something I would encourage you to do this week. Okay. You don't have to be a business owner. Doesn't matter. Walk through your place of business. Walk through the place that you work. Okay. Walk through your department. Walk through your daily routine and ask yourself these 3 questions. Okay. What should I preserve? What should I improve? And what should I eliminate? Because I'm going to tell you something. Those 3 questions can completely, and I mean completely, transform your organization. Because leadership isn't choosing between old and new. It's choosing what's best, not just for you, but for the people around you, okay, in your organization. So I want to hear from you. What usually causes people, okay, I got a question. What usually causes people to resist change? Okay. Is it comfort? Is it fear of failure? Or is it simply not seeing a reason to change? Or is it past successes? I'm going to throw that in there because I know for us, success almost destroyed us. Okay. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And as we wrap this episode up today, I want to leave you with one final thought. Okay. Tradition is valuable. Okay. Experience is valuable. Proven systems are valuable, but none of them should become untouchable. And that's probably something I learned this past winter season. Okay. Tradition is valuable. Experience is valuable. Proven systems are valuable, but none of them should become untouchable because the best leaders protect principles while improving processes. They know that value stays consistent while methods evolve. So here's today's closing question. What's one thing you're still doing the same way simply because it's always worked? Maybe it's still the best way, or maybe it's time to ask whether there's a better way. Don't change something just because it's old. Don't keep something because it's familiar. Try your best to lead with wisdom, with humility, and remain teachable. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today for another episode 346 of Behind the Tool Belt. If today's conversation challenged your thinking, do me a frickin' favor. Share this episode, like our page, share it with somebody that you think might get something out of it. These conversations become even more valuable when they're discussed together. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a new episode. And if you're enjoying the show, I would really appreciate it if you would leave us a review. I don't know. Has anyone ever left us a freaking review? We do? All right. Maybe we'll pop them up there. It helps us reach more people who are committed to growing themselves, their teams, and their businesses. You can always, please connect with me on social media and let me know your answers to today's questions. Okay. I genuinely enjoy hearing your stories and learning from your experiences. So until next time, remember this: leadership isn't about doing what everyone else is doing. It's about having the wisdom to know what to keep. Okay. The courage to change what needs changing and the humility to keep learning along the way. Thank you for listening to Beyond the Tool Belt. We'll see you next week.
Thanks to our sponsors,
TC Backer Construction, Hook Roofing Marketing, Roofle, and Project Map It. And thank you for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. We are streaming on all major platforms. See you next week for another episode of Behind the Tool Belt.